Alright guys, it's UFC 306 this weekend, the infamous Sphere card. Will it be a flop or not? I'm leaning towards it being a bit of a flop, but the main event is pretty interesting. So we're going to go through this card from bottom to top and predict every single fight. I am lying. I'm completely lying. Guys, there's a bunch of no-names on this card. Obviously, we know a few of them. We got Paul Rosas Jr., the guy who looks like a pit bull chewing a wasp, a bulldog chewing a wasp. You guys liked that in the comments last time. Don't know these guys. You've got to be a super hardcore MMA fan to know them. I mean, these women as well. I know Yasmin, but I can't even remember the last fight. Irene Aldana. This Ryan Garcia ripoff right here. But guys, this card, it's a little bit of a stinker, I've got to say. And that's probably why the views on the MMA videos have been absolutely terrible since covering the build up to this fight. But it's fine. It's part and parcel of the game. I am not really an MMA exclusive channel, so we'll build it up. So I think we talk about the top 3 fights on the card. First off, the featherweight bout, Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. So this is a rebooking of the original fight, which was UFC 303. Brian Ortega pulled out. Diego Lopez as an absolute nightmare. The fight was in jeopardy, 24 hours out, and then they thought Brian Ortega was going to be fine, and then it was cancelled again, and then he had a last-minute opponent on like a few hours' notice in Dan Ige, which, to be fair, it was an okay fight. Diego Lopez is an absolute animal, but we didn't really see him in his full true form in this Dan Ige fight. There's too many variables. When your opponent has changed last minute and it's a completely different style that you've been preparing for the last 8 to 10 weeks, you're not going to fight as good. That's just the way it is. And I did see a few people last time say about Diego Lopez, oh, the hype train's being derailed. He went to a decision victory against a last-minute Dan Ige. But the fact that it was last minute for both fighters, that is a pretty significant thing. So I try not to judge Diego Lopez on his last performance against Dan Ige. What we really should look at is his full portfolio. His last fight against Sadiq Youssef, first round KO in the first 90 seconds. Same against Pat Sabatini. First round KO in the first 90 seconds. And before that, a 98 seconds submission victory against Gavin Tucker. The guy is an absolute finisher. The only loss he's got was his UFC debut, and it was against Movsar Eloviv, which is a massive ask because Movsar is undefeated right now, 18-0, and is a nightmare matchup for pretty much the entire featherweight division. So I think in this fight against Brian Ortega, we're going to see Diego Lopez return to true form. I think we're going to get Diego Lopez by a decision victory. Now, the reason why I think a decision victory is Brian Ortega, he's been out of the game for quite some time. He hasn't really been that active. If we take a look, Yair Rodriguez at the start of this year, February, and then before that, it was in July of 2022. And before that, September 2021. And before that, October 2020. And okay, he's fighting the top people in the division, but he's being extremely inactive here. However, I do trust in Brian Ortega's chin to hold up for the majority of the fight. Diego Lopez punches with absolute ferocity. Has he got that natural one-punch KO power? I don't think so. I think if you're talking about the spectrum of like KO artist and volume puncher, say like Max Holloway, although probably not the best example recently because Max Holloway's been KOing people, but I'd put Diego Lopez up here on this end, but not like to the fullest extent. People can survive and will survive as punchers, especially if they've got a good chin, but after 3 or 4 or 5 of them land, you're kind of screwed. So I'm going to be super specific with this prediction. I'm going to say Diego Lopez by decision victory. I think Brian Ortega's chin will hold up, and I think he's going to get rounds 1 and 2, and then Brian Ortega will come back in the 3rd, but not enough to get Diego Lopez out of there. You guys comment your thoughts down below on this fight. What do you think? Right, next, moving on to Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko, the trilogy fight. It's going down. So in the first fight, Alexa Grasso beat Shevchenko in the 4th round by rear naked choke, and then in the rematch, it went to a draw. Now, I've rewatched and skimmed through these fights a little bit just to refresh my memory on how they went down. And obviously, in the first fight, what happened is Shevchenko threw a spinning back kick right here. So she whoop, misses. Grasso takes the back, takes it down, and then that's what leads to the rear naked choke. Somewhat reminiscent of Luke Rockhold versus Chris Weidman, where Chris Weidman threw the spinning kick, got taken down, lost his championship title. And then the second fight almost ended the same in the 5th round. So Grasso throws a right hook. Shevchenko goes for the takedown herself, tries to sweep Grasso with the inside leg sweep, gets reversed, taken down, and then Grasso takes the back, almost chokes it out again. Now, I think really, and I don't like saying this, but Grasso is going from strength to strength. I feel like Shevchenko, she's had a day. It's very hard to achieve championship status lose it, and then come back and achieve the championship again. It's rarely ever done. How old is Shevchenko? And especially when you're 36 years old, I feel like Valentina hasn't really had the same pop in her punches in the last few fights. I remember she used to be extremely fast twitchy. Don't get me wrong, she still is fast twitchy, dead explosive, but she just hasn't quite got the same amount of explosiveness. And typically, usually, the majority of the explosiveness is in Shevchenko's kicks. But with Grasso being extremely good at grappling and that threat of the takedown and the rear naked choke being there again, I don't think Valentina is going to throw too many kicks in this fight. I think she's going to be heavily dependent on her punches, and that's the reason why Grasso is going to actually have a chance, because let's face it, one of Valentina's main strengths were her kicks, but that is completely offset against Grasso. I don't think Valentina's going to want to end up in these positions again, so I think she's going to rely on her punches, but she hasn't got that knockout power anymore. She hasn't got the same level of fast twitchiness in her upper body that she's got in her lower body. I'm torn between two predictions. I either think Alexa Grasso by decision or Alexa Grasso by third round rear naked choke. I'm torn between those two decisions right there, because I feel like now that Valentina has faced Alexa Grasso twice, she will most likely have made some improvements since the last fight with Grasso. Whereas Alexa Grasso, she's 5 years younger, which makes a big difference. She's in a prime. I think she's going to be able to get it. And it saddens me to say that, because at one point, Valentina was probably my most favourite female fighter, or she was up there at least. So we'll say Grasso by, let's go third round rear naked choke. We'll do that one. I just don't really see any path to victory for Shevchenko in this fight. Okay, right, so moving on to the main event. We got Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. The fight of the ages, the fight of the century. It's funny because one thing I've learned from doing this YouTube, especially with me not really doing pure MMA content from the start and only really recently transitioning a bit more to it, I can directly see how much interest is in a fight based on my views, whereas a lot of other MMA YouTubers will be a little bit more consistent with the views right the way through, regardless of the event, whereas mine's like Alex Pereira fights, high views, Merab Dvalishvili fights, no one gives a crap. But as I say, we're still growing anyway, so that doesn't even matter. Right, okay, we got Sean versus Merab. Very interesting fight. Now, let me actually preface this by saying I was leaning towards Merab Dvalishvili winning this fight because of his relentless pressure, ridiculous cardio. However, I've went back and I've watched his fight against Henry Cejudo, and I've rewatched Sean's fight against Aljamain Sterling. I think we might see a bit of a repeat of the Aljamain Sterling fight for Sean O'Malley. Merab rushes in with his head up. He hasn't got super great head movement. He was able to pressure Henry Cejudo, but Henry Cejudo hasn't got the same reach that Sean O'Malley has. Henry Cejudo hasn't got the same footwork that Sean O'Malley has. Henry hasn't got the same precision that Sean O'Malley has. However, Henry was actually able to catch and hit Merab right here, I think it is. Boom. And Merab was wobbled there. And Henry had a little bit of success in this fight. And I know MMA math doesn't work out, but if Cejudo and Sean O'Malley were to fight, Sean O'Malley would destroy Cejudo now. You want to see another thing I don't like about Merab? Look at this. Decision. Unanimous. Decision. Decision. Okay, TKO in 2021. Decision. 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 A TKO in 2018. Another decision. Merab is an absolute decision machine. The UFC do not want Merab to win this fight when Sean O'Malley is finishing everyone, and even the fights that Sean has, which do go to decisions, they're exciting. He puts on a striking clinic, and another reason I don't believe Merab is going to win this fight is because of the staph infection. Let's face it, this is staph. It's probably cleared up by now. He had 10 days to get on antibiotics. Usually, a lot of fighters have the staph infection a lot closer to the fight when the immune system is extremely suppressed. Merab has had just under 2 weeks to heal it, but the antibiotics absolutely nukes your cardiovascular system. Let's also address the cut. Sean O'Malley is going to be trying to exploit this a lot, whether it's the jab or the right hand by Sean. Merab is in orthodox stance. That eye is going to be right there for the taking, and cuts just there on the eyelid open up so easy because the skin is so thin. So I even think 2, 3, 4 jabs and this cut will be open. And here's what I think Sean is going to do. As I say, I think it's somewhat going to be a repeat of the Aljamain Sterling fight. I think similar to the Paddy Pimblett and Bobby Green fight, I think Sean, like Paddy Pimblett, is going to use his kicks to make Merab do something silly to rush in. So I think Shaun is going to, like he did here against Aljo, use his teeps, use those front kicks because Merab is a lot smaller. So Shaun's leg doesn't need to travel that far from the floor to get to Merab's stomach. And I think that's going to make Merab dash in and get cracked with a right hand by Shaun O'Malley. So right here, like in this fight, Shaun throws the front kick. By the way, this is mirrored, just so you know. And then I think Merab is going to dash in like Aljamain Sterling did right there. And then Shaun's going to fade away and crack him with a nice right hand and slump Merab. The question is, what round is it going to be in? Merab only knows one pace, and that is usually like a high output. However, what's his cardio going to be like with the staph infection? You know, assuming it is staph, but come on. If it looks like a pig, it oinks like a pig, then it's a friggin' pig, isn't it? I've just made that saying up. So is Merab going to be able to keep that high-level pace up for the first 3 rounds and not get caught? And then maybe as his cardio dies off in the last 2 rounds, okay, Shaun O'Malley wins those 2 rounds, Merab walks away with a decision. Or is Merab going to fight at his usual pace, get gassed after that first round, and then get finished in the second? I think it's the latter. I think Merab's going to get finished in the second round, if he's lucky. I think he makes far too many mistakes. He hasn't really got great head movement. Shaun O'Malley's got better footwork. I think Shaun O'Malley will probably have the cardio advantage. Let's also not underestimate Shaun O'Malley's grappling. We know him as a striker, but the guy loves BJJ. He loves grappling, so don't underestimate that. I wouldn't be surprised if Shaun O'Malley got a submission. But I'm going to say Shaun O'Malley by second round KO, TKO. What do you guys think? Comment all your thoughts down below. And make sure you like the video as well. It helps out with the channel. I am trying to do more MMA content, so like the video if you like the MMA content. And also, I've got my new fitness video coming out tomorrow on my fitness channel. Link in the description. Check that out. I'm going to be putting a lot of effort into that fitness channel, and it's going to be giving you so much value. Appreciate you all tuning in. See you tomorrow.